Welcome to Red Recaps. Today in this video, we'll be recapping the movie Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. Watch out, enjoy, and make sure to stay until the end. Here we go. In 1968, on Halloween, the film premiered. The Harvest, Halloween, and Vietnam War draft are all being prepared in the community of Mill Valley. That evening, Stella, Augie, and Chuck, three young pals, go out. Stella is dressed as a witch, Augie is a clown, and Chuck is dressed as a spider. Every year, Tommy, the bully at school, and his cronies take the Halloween candy from other children. So this year, Chuck devised a scheme to retaliate. The three buddies are standing beside a street when, sure enough, at 6:50, Tommy's automobile speeds by. One of the lads in the back seat takes their candy bag by leaning out of the window. Tommy and his buddies immediately figure out that the bag smells awful and that they've been playing a joke on him. However, Tommy's automobile is attacked by Chuck, Stella, and Augie with eggs. Chuck follows that by throwing a flaming soccer ball inside. Tommy loses his cool and hits a neighbor's fence with his car. Together with them is Chuck's sister. Tommy emerges with a baseball bat and pursues the three pals. They stumble into a drive-in movie. Stella decides to hide in Ramon's vehicle. Ramon is a newcomer and a nomad. He first orders the three companions to leave his vehicle, but Stella persuades him to allow them to hide there. Sadly, Tommy discovers them and orders them to exit the vehicle and confront him. Ramon orders Tommy to go and stands up for the three pals. Stella asks Ramon to visit the town's haunted mansion. Since she is relieved they manage to avoid Tommy. It is a big, dilapidated home that has been unoccupied for many years. One of the families that founded the town, the Bellows, erected the residence. The gang enters the gloomy home by opening the door. Ramon learns from Stella that the Bellows had a daughter named Sarah, whom they kept concealed from the public. However, nothing is known about Sarah or the circumstances surrounding her hiding. Town youngsters used to visit the home, but they couldn't see Sarah since she spoke with them via the walls and told them numerous spooky tales. However, when kids began going missing, the villagers accused Sarah of being too responsible and ordered her execution. But Sarah shot herself before anybody could capture her. Since that time, the last narrative you will ever hear is if you visit the Bellows home after midnight and ask Sarah to tell you a tale. After the tale, Ramon discovers a hidden doorway beneath a bookcase. As he and Stella investigate it, they find Sarah's chamber. In the meantime, Chuck hides in a closet to frighten Augie. However, as he unlocks the closet, he discovers an elderly lady sitting on a bed while wearing a veil. He shuts the closet door in surprise as the elderly lady turns to face him. A few seconds later, Augie opens the door, but the elderly lady is not there. Stella and Ramon are located in Sarah's room as Chuck and Augie search for them. Stella discovers Sarah's book of tales and is ready to open it, but Chuck becomes alarmed and claims the book is written in the blood of the deceased kids. The companions disagree over whether or not to read the book. Tommy, who had followed the group to the home, then closes the door to the room. Chuck's sister tries to let them escape by opening the door, but Tommy forces her inside and closes it again. She screams as spiders scurry into her hair. The others attempt to unlock the door once again, but Stella sits down in a corner, opens the book, and requests a tale from Sarah. The party exits the home as a door opens inexplicably. When they get out, they discover Tommy had damaged Ramon's automobile. Stella invites him to spend the night on her sofa in the basement of her home. Ramon may easily enter Stella's house since her father is already sleeping. Ramon examines her work and tells her that if she wants to be a successful writer, she should go to the metropolis rather than the small community. Stella informs him that she is unable to abandon her father. After acknowledging this, Ramon goes to the basement to sleep. Stella takes the book out of the eerie home and opens it. The ink smears as she rubs her thumb along the title, Han. When Tommy from across town returns home intoxicated, his mother chastises him for not delivering the eggs the way she requested him to. He gathers the eggs, makes his way across the nearby cornfield, and passes a scarecrow that he despises. He sees the scarecrow again a little while later and stares at its mottled face with confusion. However, he thinks that maybe he is simply too inebriated and continues walking. But finally, he spots the scarecrow once again, or more precisely, the bare wooden post where the scarecrow had previously been suspended. Tommy wanders about in confusion while looking for it. Something moves stealthily through the corn stalks behind him. He spins around but doesn't see anything. The scarecrow is in front of him when he turns around. Tommy attempts to attack it with a pitchfork as it starts to move, but the scarecrow snatches the tool and stabs Tommy. Tommy tries to escape the field, but it's too late to phone his mother for assistance as hay begins to spew from his lips and he transforms into a scarecrow. The police chief goes by the local garage where Ramon is having his vehicle examined the next morning and tells him that Tommy has been gone since last night and that witnesses saw him attack Ramon. Additionally, the police chief advises him to stay in the area for a few days. On the other hand, Stella enthusiastically shares with her friends about the book and how Tommy's experience in the Scarecrow tale looks similar to his own. The others are also informed about Chuck's peculiar vision of the elderly lady inside the home. Augie, meanwhile, is still not persuaded that anything supernatural is taking place. Stella and Ramon visit the farm owned by Tommy's family to validate Stella's notion. A scarecrow sporting Tommy's clothing is hanging along the route as they arrive. Stella returns the book to the haunted house's chamber where she first discovered it. Ramon pays her another visit that evening. She finds Ramon reading Sarah's book when they are in her room. He reveals that he discovered the book in her bookcase despite her claims that she had already returned it. As soon as she opens it, she discovers that a brand new tale is being created right before her eyes. In the narrative, Augie is contacted hastily by Sarah using a walkie-talkie. While alone at home, Augie notices a pot of stew in the refrigerator. He takes up the walkie-talkie, but is skeptical of Stella's claim that he is a character in the narrative. Ramon informs him that a corpse is after him while keeping an eye out for her missing toe. Augie ignores this and consumes some of the stew. When he takes a toe out of his mouth, he is startled. He then starts to hear the corpse's voice asking for her toe. He hides in his room beneath his bed, and the body unlocks the door for him. He cries as the corpse pulls him. When Ramon and Stella go to Augie's residence, he has already left. The next morning, the two have a meeting with Chuck and his sister. Stella thinks the book will start writing terrifying tales about them one by one, so they must destroy the book. The sister rushes out because she doesn't believe it. They attempt to burn the book, but it is not destroyed. The three friends then decide to find out more about Sarah and break the curse. They visit the neighborhood newspaper to browse through old issues. In an old article, Chucky learns that Sarah's family accused their maid and her daughter of teaching Sarah black magic before she passed away. Ramon then comes across another story stating that within a year after Sarah's death, her whole family mysteriously fled the area. Stella recognizes Sarah's father's name and understands that each member of the family is mentioned in one of Sarah's tales, which would explain why they were all gone. Stella turns the page and notices that a news article about Chuck's sister is being written. The sister is worried about the apparent spider bite on her face since she will be singing in the school musical that evening. Just before curtain call, she rushes to the bathroom and is frightened to observe that the bite seems to have swollen. Stella, Chuck, and Ramon rush to the school to look for Chuck's sister. Under the bite, something seems to be moving. The sister screams as thousands of spiders emerge from her cheek after the first one. Then more, and more start to come out. Chuck sprays the sister with a pail of water when the three discover her encircled by spiders. The sister is transported to the hospital in an ambulance after being phoned. The daughter of the maid, who is still alive but blind, is located by them the next day. Sarah likes the identical music that is being played, so Stella warns the old woman that she could be the next to pass away. She claims to have made friends with Sarah and given her the notebook so she could record her tales. She disputes the claim made by the family that she and her maid taught Sarah how to use black magic. She also informed them that by stealing the book, they had enraged Sarah. Finally, it is revealed that Sarah killed herself at a hospital, not at home. They visit the hospital and request access to Sarah's medical records. They were informed by a nurse that it would take 6 weeks to complete their request. The adolescents decide to enter the Crimson Chamber, which houses the documents covertly. Ramon and Stella walk inside, but Chuck waits outside because he is afraid to enter the room. After all, it makes him think of the nightmares he has been having about the elderly woman in the crimson bedroom. In the room, the two people locate Sarah's documents. According to the documents, Sarah's brother admitted her to the hospital and subjected her to several traumatic procedures. Additionally, they discover a recording of Sarah made during one of her sessions, which they play on a phonograph. The brother was pressuring Sarah to reveal that she had murdered the kids, but Sarah steadfastly maintained her innocence. She said that the mercury from her family's paper mill was what killed the kids and poisoned the water. By holding Sarah responsible for the killings and committing her to the hospital, Sarah's family was able to conceal everything and put an end to her voice. The gramophone's voice starts up again, this time telling a tale about Chuck. As Chuck runs down the corridor, the lights start to turn red. He cries out for assistance, but no one else is around. A large white blob with long, stringy hair enters the room from the other end of the corridor. It starts pursuing him, and no matter how far he flees, the blob follows him and moves steadily in his direction. Chuck is then hugged and absorbed till he is gone. The police chief explains that Ramon is a draft dodger, which is why he fled after the two were detained for trespassing. The police chief doesn't buy Stella and Ramon's stinking bullshit when they claim that Sarah's book is to blame for their friends' disappearances. He locks them up for the night in an unpleasant cell. Through the jail bars, Ramon and Stella huddled as closely as they could. Ramon admits that he hasn't been able to muster the will to carry out his duty and fight since he saw the shipment of his brother's corpse from Vietnam. The police chief examines Sarah's book while seated at his desk. While a fresh article is being written, the station's lights briefly go out. A hand and other limbs fall to the ground after a severed head. The bodily parts start to combine to create a huge monster. The police chief is knocked out cold, and the creature then advances on Ramon's cell. Stella successfully retrieves the police chief's belt for the keys, which she uses to open the jail doors. Stella is instructed by Ramon to go home, but because he is unable to accompany her due to the monster's pursuit, Stella is instructed to flee and find a method to stop Sarah. Stella rushes to the haunted house as he gets into a police car and leaves. The monster pursues Ramon until he traps it inside a vehicle. When Stella enters the home, she attempts to communicate with Sarah's spirit. She returns to the past all of a sudden, but the home is no longer in disrepair. Stella isn't in the home when Ramon arrives there either. He takes up the abandoned book and discovers that Stella is the subject of a novel that is being written. Ramon hides as the beast chases him into the home. She flees through the home while others seek her. Stella enters a bedroom and sees the elderly lady Chuck saw in his vision. When Stella looks in a mirror, Sarah's image is there instead of her own. Now that we know, Stella must be witnessing Sarah's history and living a portion of it. Stella is assisted in hiding by the maid's daughter, who enters. The beast is still following Ramon, but when Sarah's brothers discover her, they take her to her secret chamber. The room becomes black, and she is back in the present. When Stella encounters Sarah's spirit, she cowers in dread, and Ramon croons to Stella to encourage her to be honest with Sarah. Stella then pledges to write the truth about what happened to Sarah, after telling her that what her family did to her was horrific, and that she has since transformed into the monster her family said she was. Stella uses her blood to write Sarah's narrative when the ghost hands her a pen. Sarah ends her curse after feeling satisfied that justice has been done to her, and the monster instantly vanishes. When Ramon and Stella run into one another, they embrace. She enters a contest and takes first place with her account of Sarah. Following the event, Ramon musters up the strength to enlist in the military, and Stella bids him farewell and gives him a note. Chuck and Augie, her two buddies, are still missing, but Stella is determined to find a way to get them back. As they go on a new journey, Stella's father drives her and Chuck's sister out of town in the last scene of the film. Did you enjoy this video? Leave a comment down below and let us know what you think about the movie. If you are intrigued with this movie, you can watch it in the links down below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more of our videos. Thanks for watching Red Recaps. See you in the next video.